All right, everybody. You know what time it is. It is time for Jon Ferrian Live. Boy, am I excited to bring you guys a good friend of mine, Mr. Jim Martinek from the Junco Snowmobile Club here in Washington State. Tell you what, him, his family, the whole club, they know how to live large. They live life to the fullest. They make the most of every day. And they sure as heck do great things for others. That's what tonight's show is all about. So come on in here. Let us know where you're watching from right now in the comments. Drop it in. Are you watching from Minnesota? Are you watching from Washington? Are you watching, I don't know, where are you watching from? Let us know where you're watching from. And let me know, did you get to go snowmobiling this weekend? I went out yesterday with my wife, some friends. Darren King, who's on here watching, he was out with me yesterday. We found a little bit of okay snow, but we need a big dumping in order to make it awesome again. So come on in, everybody. Make sure you share the show out. Every week we do amazing things with amazing guests, and we'd love to get the word out about what they're doing in their communities, and tonight is no different. So please do me the favor in getting in to share and win tonight. You all are in for a Woody's Racing hoodie and some Idahoan potatoes. You gotta love those Idaho potatoes. They are awesome. Even Jim likes them. I told him to be quiet, but he's over there laughing. You can hear him. He loves Idaho potatoes, don't you, Jim?
Man, I love them.
All right, we'll get you uncovered here in just a minute. But come on in, everybody, and share the show out. Let's have some fun. All right, let's bring Jim in here in 3, 2, and 1. How are you doing, Mr. Jim Martinek? How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. I've had a great weekend. We shared the cabin with our grandkids. We had 5 of them. We took them skiing and we took them snowmobiling one day. Went scooting around. I mean, it's a family deal for us.
I
So
saw that on Facebook that you guys went up skiing. It was I think it was your daughter-in-law,
yeah.
yeah, so your daughter-in-law, I saw one of her
hmm
posts saying that, is that right that that was her first time ever skiing? Is that accurate or
It,
no?
yeah, it was.
Oh
It
my
was a
goodness.
it was a bucket list thing that she wanted to get taken care of. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be able to share that with somebody. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what it's about. Even our sport is like that too.
No,
Snowmobiling.
absolutely, absolutely. You know what? I got a chuckle out of seeing her post was that she was wearing all of her climb gear, and I'm thinking like she was probably the only skier on the mountain wearing climb gear. That was awesome.
Yeah, so was my wife. She was doing the
Oh,
same. We all look like snowmobilers on skis.
that's perfect. You gotta let everybody know what it's all about. So, hey Jim, I want to just kind of just a little personal. I want to kind of bring it up and introduce you, kind of how we've gotten to know each other,
Okay.
and then I'll turn it over to you here to kind of go a little deeper on who the heck is Jim and the family, and we'll get into that, and then we'll work up our way to getting into the snowmobile club and all the things you guys are involved in with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So, but yeah, it was I think about almost exactly a year ago. It was
Yep.
End of March, February. Yeah, the end of February, early March is when it was. Our two snowmobile clubs, so the Cascade Drift Skippers and the Junco Club, had partnered. Myself and your friend Jimmy Bauer. I didn't even know you at that
hmm
time. He set it up, coordinated it
Yeah.
with me, and somehow, some way, magically, we ended up at your amazing house/cabin in the woods down there near St. Helens and Mount Adams. So it's an amazing spot, and you've got
Thank
this
you.
like you have what I would call like my dream place someday. Like someday I want to grow up and be just like Jim Martinek. That's what I want to be. And so like it's awesome
we,
because the sport of snowmobiling we have, it's like to be able to have a place that's close to the mountains like that. You still have to trailer, of course, right? Most of the
hmm
time. But like to
Yep.
have a bunkhouse set up and a place where you can bring friends in it, like that's my dream place someday is to be able to kind of do something like that and to have you invite us in and to share that with us a year ago and then again over last weekend was just amazing. So I just want to say thank you again for your
Yeah.
hospitality. So
You're welcome, John. And we love sharing it, as you can tell. I mean, when we did the leap year ride last year, it was exciting. We had our kids all up there riding with us on the first day, and the second day we went to Mount St. Helens.
yeah,
Wow, what a journey that was. I mean, the blue skies that day and how much snow we had on the ground was everything was just lined up perfect.
yeah,
And it was again, we just love to share that with people, and it was cool to share it with people. And you
yeah.
guys were great people to host. And my wife and I had what do we had two, four, we had about 12 people, I think, stayed overnight at the cabin.
Yeah, a year ago. And then here's the
Yeah.
irony of this whole situation too is that a year ago when we did that, coming into your cabin, life was relatively normal. And then we were in there and there was a recent windstorm and there was no internet and all that kind of stuff. And we left there at the end of the weekend, which is the first few days of March. And we came out into, oh my God, the world's ending, COVID and everything else. And so that was
Yeah.
it was a very memorable moment for me because it was that transition in our lives before, going from, nothing was locked down to like leaving and like everything was locked down and it was happening fast. Um,
Hmm.
and because we had that 4 day window in there too, it was just such a memorable moment for us and our family and
Yeah.
a meaningful transition point for us to get there. And, here we are like a year later and, Edith and I got lucky and we shared the cabin just by ourselves, right? The bunkhouse out
Yeah.
there by
Yeah.
ourselves. And so we didn't have to worry about social distancing and quarantining and all that kind of stuff at the moment there, which was kind of nice. But at the same time, it's a great thing about snowmobiling is you're outdoors. Generally, you're spread out from everybody, and you have a good time, and
Hmm.
you're out there. So, but Jim, before I keep just rambling on and taking over the whole dang show, this is really is more about you. Let's let everybody get to know you a little bit, and let's get some background on hey, where the heck did you grow up? Tell us a little bit more about your family, maybe what your day job is and or was if you're lucky enough to be retired. I think you're kind of
Yeah.
retired slash semi-retired, but
Okay.
take the
Well,
floor for a few minutes. It's all you.
o- okay, John, thank you. I've had an exciting life. I met my wife 37 years ago, and she's put up with
Nice.
me that long. That was good. Her and I both graduated from University of Maryland. We met in Spokane,
Oh, nice.
moved there, finished our degrees in University of Maryland. I have an accounting degree, and I
Okay.
specialized in construction companies. And we moved out here in '94, and she grew up. Interesting. My wife grew up rounding up cattle on snowmobiles,
Oh,
and a lot of
nice.
people will tell you, yeah, you ride with Jan. It's a tough battle because you got to keep up with her. It's not easy, and that's why she started when she was 16,
Yeah.
snowmobiling, and she's a phenomenal rider. So her and I can go just about anywhere together and have a great time. And oftentimes it's funny. I'll tell her, I says, Jan, take off your helmet, and all the guys look at her and go, oh, geez, they shake their heads. I ain't riding with you.
Well,
She's a fun rider.
she went from rustling cattle to rustling you, it sounds like, is what happened.
Yeah, yeah. And so we have a great life. We just recently sold our home in Olympia and moved to our cabin
Okay.
2 years ago. And we love sharing the adventure with a lot of people. It wasn't uncommon to have 13, 14 trailers in the yard,
Wow.
and we'd go up snowmobiling on the weekend, come back, and we'd all go back to work and whatnot. So
Yeah.
she just retired this last year.
Very cool.
I'm semi-retired. I began buying commercial buildings in 2003,
Yeah.
and I got a few of those, and I work those a couple of days a week. And when I come to town, I take care of that business. But what I think is exciting about my story is my whole family snowmobiles.
Exactly.
My
That's awesome.
Jan's brother snowmobiles. He's been. We go to Yellowstone every year, and we meet him. We go snowmobiling there. My son is a phenomenal young man of 40. He is the one. He got Groomer of the Year a year ago, 2 years ago, 2 years ago,
Okay.
and he's now does all the plowing and grooming in our area. So we have a guy who used to snowmobile all the time, knows what it means to groom and groom good, and he does a great job. He's a welder and a mechanic by trade, but he's
Nice.
been buying up all this equipment to do all these contracts. He's now got the his recent acquisition was the Cougar contract down
Okay.
in down towards Vancouver, out of towards Trout Lake.
S-
But anyway, he's been doing a lot of that. He snowmobiles, and he's a very avid snowmobiler. He does not only does he snowmobile, he has snow bikes. All the winter sports that you can possibly think of.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He does it. He just it's not hard. He loves getting out in the woods.
Yeah.
So simply we just kind of we do live a simple life.
Well,
We enjoy. Yesterday morning we had 18 elk walk through the yard. I mean, how
wow.
that's a pretty cool deal. That's a
Yeah.
pretty cool deal.
Well, tell me a little bit more about
So,
the grandkids and joining you too, right? So your son, you're talking,
oh
is a
yeah.
groomer. They've got kids, and like every time I'm down there, I feels like I've got little kids, biting at our ankles down there, which is awesome. I love it. So
Oh yeah, yeah. We talk about when we're going to get them their first sled, and we take them sledding all the time. So we
yeah,
throw them on the back, and we'll take them riding on the. We took them at Thanksgiving this year on a nice ride up to St. Helens. We didn't make it very far
yeah,
because they get cold after a while, but
yeah,
they just love the sport. They love being outside. They love just enjoying the things that we like doing as well.
yeah.
So it's a family thing for us.
That's
It's a big
awesome.
deal.
That's awesome. Well, let's again. I'm happy to excited to be able to call you a friend. I think as we were leaving your house
Yeah,
last weekend, I told you, Jim, Jan, pretty sure you guys are just stuck with us now. Like we're fast friends. It's just gonna keep going. And we started talking like maybe we're gonna be able to get to go jeeping together or maybe boating
that's
together this
right.
summer
Yeah,
too. And
yeah.
so I'm excited to stay in touch with you guys to go. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about this thing we call the Junco Snowmobile Club. So it's kind of a unique name for those who maybe don't know, like, Junco. It's unique, it's different. Have you heard of it? Have you not? What's the origins of that name? I think I know a little bit about. A little birdie told me, right? And what's
Yeah, a little birdie, right? Right. That's good. That's good. A nice lead in, John. So the birdie Junco is the bird, and it's kind of a camp robber. They come down and you hold your hand out, and they'll take whatever food you have. I have had them land on my head, pick a something off of my head, and fly away.
Yeah.
So originally, I talked to one of the original founders the other day, Gene Coulter,
Okay.
and they came up with it, and they had a battle the first time they came up with it. They thought there were a bunch of backyard garage drivers with a bunch of junk on the snowmobile and on
Yeah.
the snow, and they were riding it. And that wasn't true. It just represented the area that we ride. It has to do with the bird, its freedom, and fly. And we see them more often in the wintertime than you see them in the summertime, but we see them a lot in the wintertime. And they're just a bird trying to survive out in the winter as well. So we take them food every once in a while.
Very good, very good. And so
Yeah.
the club's been around for a long time, and it's part of the WASA, which is the Washington State Snowmobile Association. That's how I
Yeah.
came to be introduced to you guys. Is a lot of the WASA meetings. There was representatives from the club there, and it was Jim Bauer, and I think Tom Im. I think I've seen down there and stuff too. And
Hmm.
Tom's your current president currently, isn't
That is
he?
correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So Tom's actually
Tom.
here watching tonight. So thumbs up to you, Tom, for stepping up this
Hey,
year
Tom.
and being the club president this year. So it's a great crew. But one thing, it feels like to me, based on the other clubs I've seen, that it's a relatively small club. Do you have a rough count on how many members you guys have?
It is a small club, John. We're about 22 people, and it keeps growing every year.
Yeah,
It had it downsized it, same as every other club that is a volunteer type club like this.
yeah.
And we've been members since '96.
Okay,
And we've enjoyed a lot of the ups and downs of the club. I was president for 5 or 6 years at one time,
okay.
and it's a great little club. It's a small club in a small corner of the state, but we have, I think, one of the best family riding areas in the state. It's a great place to take families.
Yeah.
And if you want to get extreme, you go over to Mount St. Helens. That's always a fun, as you remember.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how I got to know you. I was watching you going up this one hill, and I thought, is he going to make it? Is he going to make it? Oh, man, he made it. That was cool. And that was just before we got to that one lookout at the end there.
Yeah,
That
no,
was
and it's
pretty cool.
and let me just describe this to you guys, because and Jim, I don't know, I'm going to ask you the question kind of rhetorically here. You don't have to answer it right away, but you can come back to it if you want to. Is I'm not sure how many places across the country you have gotten a chance to ride outside of Washington, because I know this is kind of your home base here and stuff too. But like probably similar to me is like all over the country, right? Like I've ridden, the Midwest, I've ridden the East Coast, I've ridden the Rockies, I've ridden, Utah, I've been down to Tahoe now. And I would tell you that like that little nook of the world that you guys are in down there, I'm just going to use the word magical. Like every time, like we've been down
Yeah.
there twice now, and the corner of the planet that that you guys live in down there and where you guys are riding, every time my wife and I go down there and we're in the truck and we're driving, it's just like, we come out of the little town. Was it Randall? What's the name of the little town that's
Yes.
up there? Yeah, Randall.
Randall.
So the little town of Randall, and you come around the corner, and pretty much you're out of cell phone coverage, and you come up to this beautiful sign that says forest. There's a national forest there, right? What's the name of the forest?
Hmm. Gifford Pinchot.
So Gifford Pinchot National Forest. You drive in there, and as soon as you come into this, it's just like you feel like you're in Narnia, right? Like it's like out of a movie, and it's like it's literally probably a rainforest, right? Is it technically a rainforest there?
We don't call it a rainforest, but it's
Yeah.
close. It
Yeah,
is
I mean,
close,
it's
like the
all
whole
the
rainforest
mossy.
over in the Olympics.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it reminds me of, is kind of that whole
Yeah.
rainforest where it's a very, because you're on the, what is it, the western slopes of the Cascade Mountains, you guys capture all this moisture, right? And it's a very wet climate
Yeah.
there. And so at lower elevation where your cabin is, pretty much green most of the winter, right? Is that accurate?
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we've got some of the best drinking water in the state
Oh, amazing. Yeah, and so you go into this
because of the
forest,
moisture.
and these trees are just gargantuan, and they're monsters, and you're just driving, and every time we've gotten there,
Hmm.
it's been at night, and it's just this like it's a little. I'll be honest, it's a little intimidating. Like you're driving in at night,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh my gosh, like I hope a tree doesn't fall on us or something, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it was a windstorm the year ago, and then this time, but you get there, and then of course you wake up in the morning, and there's this beautiful cabin, and there's usually like valleys full of like fog or steam or something like that, and some
Hmm.
sun's popping up, and you just feel like you're in a movie set the whole time. And then you get to go snowmobiling right after that, and you drive up, and as you get up into snow and elevation, and you get up there, and it's some of the most beautiful terrain in the state that I've seen, especially around Mount St. Helens as well as Mount Adams.
Hmm.
The views of these giant volcanoes out there that tower above all the other mountains in the area. So
Right. Yeah, it's gorgeous. We feel pretty special. I mean, when you get up in the
yeah.
woods like that and you get up in the mountains and everything's white,
Oh,
it's
it's
pretty cool.
gorgeous.
And when you
Yeah.
see that little hill that you want to just get up and go over in the top of the hill and
Yeah.
just kind of maybe have a little hot lunch or something like that.
Yeah.
That's those are good memories.
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
good memories.
And the point you made of a little club, right? 22 people, not a very big club.
Yeah.
But what I love about this story is that it's a little club doing big things, right? That's kind of what I put in
Yeah.
the show notes here tonight. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. And kind of our main focal point is um, how did you guys originally get tied into the Make-A-Wish Foundation? Kind of where did that introduction or kind of
Well,
that start? So,
yeah, good. That's a great question, John. Back in '91, Wausau was involved in Make a Wish, and so
okay.
what they did was had a competition throughout all the clubs in the state that the one who raises the most money got this plaque.
Oh, nice.
Well, and then about '96, '98, our club took it to heart, and we drove it, and that plaque has been ours since '98,
Wow.
1998. And in 2002, they began tracking all of the donations and everything. And I'd been involved with them just before that, but 2002 was my name came on to Make a Wish
Yep.
and our contribution to the program. And instead of so we all the money that we get from the charity auction that you'll probably describe a little bit here
Yep.
goes to Make a Wish. And what I mean, my heart goes out to every member in our club that drives it. I
Yeah.
mean, it is just cool. We had one year somebody said, "Hey, we got too much snow. We can't do it."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh no, now we're going." Too much snow is a good problem, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, since when is there ever too much snow? How is that even possible?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
guess if
And
nobody
we've
can
had
get to the
years where,
mountain, when you're having to trailer in, too much snow could mean the roads aren't plowed yet, right? And you can't get in. But yeah, unload at
right?
at the town down the road, and you just ride all the way in on your sled, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we had Gary Kittleman was the plower at that year, and he brought in a loader and just dug it out.
Oh
He
wow,
dug it out and made it happen.
that's
And that was
awesome.
pretty cool. I mean, he was a member as well. But again, it's the heart of the people that make it happen. And you get them involved and you just, I mean, I can't thank them enough.
Yeah,
All the work that everybody does. And even this year, Jim Bauer and I sat down and we go, we got to do something different this year. Let's burn down a sled. And we all started laughing. And the next thing you know, that was only about 2 months ago, John.
yeah.
Next thing you know, you're helping us find another sled so we can compete two sleds together.
Yeah, that's a story all by itself too. So for everybody
Yeah.
who maybe has figured that out or not, and I know a lot of people follow me regularly, is there was a little short video clip that I was actually in the garage installing a wrap on my sled, and Jim Bauer, our mutual friend, called me and says, "Hey John, the club, we're trying to do this like sled blow up thing, just so everybody understands what it is basically you have two kind of older sleds, or in one sometimes, but this case it was two, and you disconnect the oil line from it, and you run the sleds wide open throttle until the engines catastrophically fail, basically, right, is what happens. And a local power sports dealer, Clem's Enumclaw Power Sports, my favorite little dealer in the corner down there in Enumclaw, they do this every year as part of their open house, and it's kind of locally known, and it's kind of a big draw. It's kind of fun, just kind of to goof off like that. And so you guys were looking for this, and Jimmy calls me. He's like, "Hey, we got a Skidoo. I think we're set there, but we're having a hard time getting a Polaris." And so I hung up with Jimmy, and I says, "Okay." And as I was hanging up with Jimmy, I says, "Okay, Jimmy, like, time me." And I went over to my Facebook Live, and I hit record on the Facebook Live, and I sat there and I announced it. I says, "All right, everybody, I need help," is what it said, and just said what we were doing and what was going on, and literally in 2 minutes flat, I called Jimmy back and I says, okay, Jimmy, I got a lead on 2 sleds, this one and this one. And one of those leads
Yeah.
was actually the one that we ended up using and sorted out. And Darren King, who donated the sled, or at least sold it to us at an extreme discount, he's watching tonight as
Really?
well too. So you can tell him thank you personally for,
Thanks, Darren. That was awesome.
Yep, yep, that was awesome. And so we had the sleds down there, and we'll go into that in more detail a little bit too. But
Okay.
the structure of how you guys got started with it is awesome, and collectively you guys have raised, let's just call it a crap ton of money. Crap ton's a
It's
lot, just to be clear. Crap ton.
it it's over 80 for our small club. It's over $80,000, and we're
Yeah,
pretty proud of that.
yeah.
It's I've done other auctions, and the amount of money that some auctions raise are pretty phenomenal. But when you take a warming hut up in the woods, and you take the members all gather donations, or they all gather items from their communities and come in, and we auction those off, and they're all new items. Some of the ladies go real extravagant. They make these baskets that have all this.
Oop, are you
Yep,
there, Jim?
just a second. Yeah, just a second.
It's okay. I can still
Somebody's trying
hear
to
you,
call
but
me.
oh yeah, just hang up on them. It's okay. Uh-oh. All right, guys, I'm going to work to bring Jim right back here. I think he had an interruption on his Skype call, so I'm going to go ahead and dial him back, and we'll have him come back in. All right, guys, just hang tight. We'll be right back when Jim will be here. Gotta love technology. All right, Jim, are you back? So
Yeah, I'm back.
I hope that was like the governor or the president or somebody calling you. It was interrupting our awesome show. Come on, what's going on?
Yeah, that was my daughter, actually.
Well, she knew we were talking about her, is what it was.
Yeah. So anyway, there's kind of a poor connection right now. But anyway, our club, just the energy that they put into this whole deal, and when we go up there and do the charity auction. We do an auction. We typically do a live auction in the last 2 or 3 hours. It started out where we would do a potluck for anybody who was up there. You come and do a potluck. One of our draws in the past was we had this radar run.
Oh,
A guy
okay.
named Roy Ovis used to put it on, and 600 feet, the fastest you could get your sled to go.
Okay.
And it was high energy, people on both sides of the trail. And it got a little bit dangerous, but we had a lot of fun doing it. I got up to 94 miles an hour and 600 feet once,
Wow.
and that was pretty exciting. And my friend who put it on, he did 120, and he still holds the record for the fastest sled at
Holy
600
smokes.
feet on snow
That's moving.
at our event. Yeah, so we've had a lot of fun. We've done a lot of different things. When it comes down to it, and you get a group of people that really have their heart in the program, and they see
Yeah.
what Make-A-Wish does. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be a part of it. I'm just a
Yeah.
small cog in the wheel,
Well,
and my wife and I.
you guys get a letter every year from Make-A-Wish after the
We do.
donation, right? And so
Yep.
are you able to share some, without using names, maybe some of the stories of
Sure.
kind of the type of things, just maybe one or two highlights of some of the stories that you guys have had over the years of the difference that your club has made to somebody, at a local, it's typically local, right? You guys have got somebody in
Yeah.
Washington that you benefit.
There was a young man, and I mentioned this at the show the other day. His name, we'll call him Jade. That's not
Okay.
his real name,
No
but
worries.
he had leukemia. Jade had leukemia, and he would go once a week for therapy for his leukemia, and I think it was chemotherapy. And at home he had 5 chickens, and they're not important about the chickens, but I always caught this one name. One was Snowy, Snowflake, and the other one was Rotisserie, which I thought was kind of cute.
That's awesome.
So it caught my eye. The story caught my eye, and so he at his house, the chickens were kept in a dog kennel because they
Okay.
didn't have enough money to make a chicken coop. So Make-A-Wish came in, and when they asked him, what wish would you like to have? And he said, I like a chicken coop to keep my chickens from the foxes getting after them and the raccoons coming in after them.
Yeah.
I'd like to keep my chickens safe. And as I tell the story the other day, it's not about the chicken coop.
Yeah.
It's about the hope that it gave him.
Oh, I know,
They
right?
gave him hope. They gave him life. They gave him something to look forward to each week. And each week out of that chicken coop, he finally got 10 chickens, 15 chickens, and now he's bringing his doctor a dozen eggs each week.
Wow.
And what a beautiful story, because it, like I say, it wasn't about the chicken coop that
No.
was important. It was what it made him feel that week while he went for the chemotherapy, which is really pretty traumatic to a body. So
Yeah.
I just get tickled when I hear these stories, and I've over the years I would go to some of their presentations on stories. I couldn't. I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you. I could not leave there without my pen hitting the checkbook. That's
Yeah.
just the way I am,
No,
and
exactly.
it's pretty cool. And then to come out and be a part of the Make-A-Wish program through the Junco Club and with the state and all that, I'm pretty proud of that. I'm very excited about that.
As
And
you
I don't
should
know,
be.
John, if this is an opportunity, if people at all feel compelled that they would like to help us contribute, it all goes under the Snowmobile Club's name.
Okay.
But if you want to make a check to Make-A-Wish, and if you'd like to send it to our address to 2403 Cispus Road in Randall, Washington, 98377,
Okay.
we'd be excited to represent your check to Make-A-Wish. And it does help our
Yeah.
community in what we have involvement in Make-A-Wish. It gives us some balance in life.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and it's the cool part. There's so many cool parts of this, right? It's like the sense of community that's there with the snowmobile club, the fact that we have a small club of 22 people making such a dramatic impact in the community of what's going on, and obviously you guys draw in way more people than just the local club members for this event, and you know, tying it all together and seeing the money that people are raising and we'll get into some more detail here in a minute about the donations that were made and all that, and just seeing everybody kind of just giving of their time, talent, and treasure, right, their money as well, has been amazing. And so if anybody is compelled to throw in a few bucks, and anything matters, right? It's like, it doesn't matter if it's $5 or $100, it doesn't matter, whatever people want to
You're right.
donate. We'd be happy to help them out with that. And people, you'll be tagged in this post, Jim, when it goes out. It's here live in the thing. It doesn't
Okay.
always give all the things, but people can then send you like a message through Facebook Messenger and get your contact info too. And you've read it off here, your name and your address and stuff too. And people can reach out
Okay.
to me, and I'll put you in touch with you. A lot of options there as well too. So I'm
Great.
going to pause for just a second because we do have a couple of comments and questions in the chat that I want to acknowledge, and then kind of mentally hold your spot, and we'll come back to kind of the event this year. So Jesse Miller, who lives up north a little ways here, I think it's Lake Stevens area, he's asking about parking down there for a 30-foot trailer. And so I know the answer to that. Why don't you tell a little bit about your snow parks up there and the amenities that are available for the snow parks up there?
Yeah, in '96, the state gave us an opportunity to build this snow park. And not only did we put a nice big log warming hut with a fireplace inside it, as well as a pretty good sized picnic table. But there is plenty of room. We can probably get 20 of those 30-foot trailers up there. We
Yeah.
have no problem getting a lot of equipment up there.
Yeah, no, it's some
It's pretty big.
the roads getting there sometimes can be challenging, I found.
You know,
The snow parks are beautiful, but the roads to get to the snow parks, you better take it easy and slow down for the bumps. That's all I'm gonna say. Like it's like, if not, your rear end may be on top of your head or vice versa. There's some bumps in there that will eat an entire vehicle if you're not careful.
hey, John, you got to know. So this happened the day before you arrived.
Okay.
My son, my wife, and I went up the road that goes up to the Ore Creek Snow Park,
Okay.
and we cut a bunch of trees,
Oh, I
just
bet.
cutting them out of the way so he could get his groomer up there,
Yeah.
groom the trails, and so we could get everybody up there.
Oh, yeah.
It was almost a deal killer, but we made it happen.
Well, because as usual, like 2 times in a row now, within a week of me coming to visit you, there's been a tremendous windstorm coming through. Like, I don't know if I suck so
What do you have to
bad.
say?
If I suck so bad that the wind blows in from the ocean as I suck, like that must be what it is. My riding and and everything sucks so bad that the wind just comes in whipping through there. That's got to be what it is.
Yeah, I don't know, John. You got to tell me what's going on here.
I don't know, but I'll let you know when I come next time so you can prepare for the power outage. Let me just say.
I'll get the chainsaw blades sharpened.
It's awesome. So Tom M dropped in your name and your address here too. If anybody does want to send off a check to the Make-A-Wish to that address, you're welcome to do that. So hopefully you're okay with
Thank
that.
you.
If not, we can
I
delete
am,
it later, but
absolutely.
that's okay. Cool.
No, fine with it.
Awesome, awesome. So that gets us caught up there. So let's talk a little bit about this year's event and some of the preparation that goes into it, but then also the donations that you guys get from all the different. There's some really unique donations that come in. Some of it. I'll just call out a couple of them that really stuck out to me. Is you have a young lady down in your community who is an artist, right? Let's talk about
Yes.
her for a minute. Go ahead, and I want you to tell a little bit about her donations and what she's been doing.
Sarah Simpson,
Okay.
she did an awesome job. Her and her husband got engaged at the cabin, not at the
Oh,
cabin, but
nice.
up at a place called Topsail. They were
Okay.
staying at the cabin, and when she left, about 2 months later, I get this painting, and I've got it in the cabin. This one that sits in the cabin as you
Yeah,
walk in the door.
I've seen it. It's
And
beautiful.
Sarah made that painting. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful painting. And next thing I know, a couple of years later, 3 or 4 years later, I'm starting to see some of her paintings show up, and I love those paintings. She
Yeah.
just does beautiful, beautiful work. And it's fun to see people give a personal item like
Oh,
that
I know, right?
to the auction. Because other people, like, my wife and I got to say something about my wife. She put her heart into the organization of this. I'm nothing without her. You know what I mean, John?
Oh yeah, oh, wait a minute. Are you insinuating that I'm in the same boat? Because it's true. It's true. I am nothing without my wife as well. So nice
Right.
segue there.
Because we had to reinvent the wheel this year, John. We had to reinvent how we were going to do things with COVID going on. And so
Oh
we did a
yeah,
lot of silent auction items. How do you control that? How do you control two sleds being burned up and the auction and the items that we were going to sell through that? And we had to do food where it wasn't a potluck anymore. And my wife she did a fantastic job. And a lot of people helped her. Jimmy Bauer's wife
yeah.
Shani and Kim Olive helped a bunch. She came up and helped us set up the one morning and helped us clean up the next day.
There was tons of
And
people
it's
throwing a hand in
pretty
everywhere.
intense.
So
Yeah, there's a ton
yeah,
of people that help out. Jimmy
yep.
Bauer, he's always he got the sled there. He's setting up tents. He's getting
Yeah.
firewood. And man, it's just exciting. And we got to talk about the firewood, John. I mean, that firewood, it's at
The
my
mo
cabin now.
the most expensive damn firewood I've ever seen. So the donation was from who? Talk about the donation of the firewood, right? The firewood was donated, right?
Yeah, it was donated from Snow Jammers as a
Okay.
club, and they had 1.3 cords of wood.
Okay.
And of course, the auction always starts out about 100, 200, and Clem and I are doing the auction up there, and it goes up to 450. And you remember the 450 number really well
Okay.
because um, Phil Snow stands up and he says, "If it goes 500, I'm going to stack it." And you came in and says, "Okay, I'm in for
I'll th-
$100
yeah, I'll
or
throw an extra.
$50 at first."
No, no. I said
Yeah,
I'll throw in because we started earlier, and I says I'll throw in $100 on top of whatever you bid, Jim. So just so we all know, yes, it was a charitable donation, but
it
because
was.
Jim is so charitable and hosting my wife and I, and just taking such amazing care of us, I felt like you know what, like it's the least I can do is throw a little extra firewood Jim's way to help heat this beautiful cabin that he was sharing with us. So it was kind of a win-win-win for everybody and it worked
Yeah,
out fantastic. And we ended up, what is it, a cord of wood or how much was it? It was a
1.3
well,
cords.
0.3. Just to be clear, it's not 1.4 or 1.2. It is exactly 1.3. Somebody measured it exactly, right? Like just to be clear.
Yeah, yeah. That's the accountant in me,
Yeah,
John.
Chris Sutton is
Yeah.
here watching with us too, and he says thanks, Phil, for calling that out because now Chris is probably the one that's going to get stuck stacking it, right?
Yeah, he
Uh,
did. They stacked it yesterday. It all happened. It's happened already. They put it. I was burning the wood last night, so it's pretty cool.
Yep. I'm actually going to pull the comment from Zach Bradbury. It says, "Thank you, Chris Sutton." So Chris is the one who came in and helped stack it, and he says Zach and Jeff too. So we've got. I'm going to
Yep.
add that in here too. But I have the option to pull some of the comments from the thing into the show. So now at the bottom of your, just below your head there, it says, "Thanks to Zach and Jeff too." So we got that. Chris Sutton says, "I did measure it, so he knows exactly how much is there." So just to be clear, it wasn't 1.35. It was exactly 1.3.
1.3. Yeah.
1.3 like because wood you measure very specifically. There's no airspace in wood, so it's always exact. I know. But anyway, hopefully that'll help you heat your cabin this winter so I can come down and visit you again this winter. So
We're looking forward to it. Yeah. John, we got to
awesome.
get the Jeeps out, right?
Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah, I'm super excited
Yeah.
for that too. Like in the summertime to get up there and start
Oh,
jeeping
yeah.
in some of that terrain and seeing some of the views and stuff. Because unlike the wintertime, it's actually clear and sunny in the summertime most of the time around Washington. wintertime, it's like a shot in the dark to get a clear day like we had up there, which was a blessing, right? Like we had a beautiful sunny day the day of the event.
We did. The day before it was raining, and then that day it just kind of cleared up. It was cold, but yeah, I didn't see anybody. I didn't see anybody shivering too bad.
No, it was pretty good. Well, I did see one person shivering. Should we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, who was that?
Mr. Tanner Hamlin. He was shivering that day a little bit. I don't know if it was
Yeah,
from
that's a good
being
story.
I don't know
That's
if
a
it was
good
from
story.
being cold. I told it in my last week's episode, so I'll be brief this week. But for those who maybe didn't watch last week's episode here too, is everybody knows that my show is all about safety, education, positive growth of the sport, right? And this show generally falls
Hmm.
into just highlighting the snowmobile club, what the community is doing for the community, the club is doing for the community. But I think we'll do a little safety segment here, and we'll talk about this. Is what I would tell everybody, and kind of the headline of this little safety story. We'll do kind of a little sub story here is that the reason we go through training, the reason we carry first aid kits and medical supplies and fire starters and all those things that if all hell breaks loose, we all like to think that we're ready for whatever can happen. And 99.9% of the time nothing ever happens, and we all just drag a bunch of crap around the mountains and think like, well, I'm being safe, right? And then the day happens, right? And so this was that,
Hmm.
unfortunately, but fortunately, it's kind of a catch-22, because it's unfortunate that the accident happened in the first place, but it was fortunate that it happened where it happened and when it happened and with who was all there, right? And
It gives a great example of how to be, why you are prepared.
yeah, yeah. And so we had a pretty large group. There was. Do you have a rough head count of how many people was at this event total? Was it pushing close
Uh,
to 100 or
it,
60 or somewhere in there?
it was about 85.
Yeah, so total of 85 people there, and most people broke up into just small groups and went out riding for the day. And you guys had great navigation signs up all over the
Hmm.
place. But I ended up going out with our friend Jim Bauer and a pretty good crew. I think we ended up started with like 16. We ended up with 19 right before the accident, and
Wow.
we had 19 in a group. And we're literally, because the snow is really hard and crunchy, and it was icy. But it was
Hmm.
beautiful weather. Like, we were all kind of just taking it easy, but it was so hard and icy. The trail was that everybody was trying to keep their sleds cool, and that was really what drew the issue here. Is everybody, including Tanner, was like cutting off the trail and on the trail, trying to keep their sleds cool by spinning the tracks in the soft snow, which there was none. To be clear, that was the one thing I want to order for next year is soft
Yeah.
snow.
Yeah. You probably got connections. You brought the wind. Maybe you could change that a little
And the
bit.
sun, right? Next year we'll work
And
on
the sun.
snow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we'll work on snow. And so he kind of, just as he was coming off the trail and coming back on the trail, his ski caught an edge and it flipped him up, and he ended up landing all of his weight on his shoulder. If I had to guess, maybe 20 miles an hour. It was a super slow speed accident, but the ground was just so rock hard that Tanner
Hmm.
landed on his shoulder, and that dislocated his shoulder. It popped his shoulder, as his arm out of his socket, and he laid there, and hence the shivering transition. He was a little bit shaking from the pain and what was going on and the stress of the situation. And Jimmy and I were up front. We turned around and came back and met. And by the time they had him kind of sitting up, but he was still on the trail when we got there. And they explained what happened. The great part is you guys have another club member there, Craig Miller, that we should
Yes.
recognize, right? So Craig's been a long time
Absolutely.
member of your club, right?
Long time. He's been a friend longer than I have been knowing him in the club. But
Yeah,
him and I have scuba dive all around the world. But to have him as a seasoned paramedic,
yeah,
retired seasoned paramedic, and to go up there and be able to put that arm in, that's
yeah.
pretty phenomenal. He's even told us. He said he had a doctor one time said, I can't get this shoulder in place, and he said, can you come in here and just give your different perspective? And he was able to do it. He just has a very unique characteristic about him. A very unique ability to help people. He's a
Yeah,
good guy.
yeah, no, it's amazing. So shout out to Craig for the work that he did, and to Tanner for making it through it. At the end of the day, I think Tanner made it through relatively unscathed. I mean, they reset his
Hmm.
shoulder. One thing Mark Loftus is shouting out here too, which is for sure the case. I'll drop it in the show here. Says, we learned how hard it was to build a fire in the woods with somewhat ideal conditions, right? And so this
Yeah.
is something that, depending on what part of the country you're in, it's actually a big deal when it comes to safety, right? Is understanding how to get a fire started in a really wet climate like the Pacific Northwest. It's like all winter
Hmm.
long it's raining and snowing constantly, and all the wood, even on a dry sunny day, was relatively wet. And so we had fire starter, we had all kinds of things, and we fought for 45 minutes to try and get a fire started. Well, we were waiting for Craig to come up and because Craig wasn't with us on the ride, he was down at the snow park. We had to go down and get him and bring him back up. And so all that time
Right.
that we were killing, we were also trying to start a dang fire, right? And so, and you'd think like, oh, fire, no big deal. Cavemen could do it. Why can't we, right? But
And we
we're
got fire starters, right?
Oh, I
Yeah.
know, right? And so we had literally like fire starter, little packets of fire starter. I had little
Mm-hmm.
shavings of like a cedar treated log that was all, it would light right away, but it just would not ignite the thing. And so we finally resorted to a Gatorade bottle with some gasoline on our little fire starter that we had with the wood. And we just kept dousing. It took about 4 or 5 times of just splashes of gasoline on the fire to get it to finally heat enough to dry the wood that it would actually burn at any kind of a actual temperature other than just smolder, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the irony of the whole thing was like about the time that we were literally ready to give up, Tanner's arm was set, and literally I was like, "Well, I guess we don't need this anymore." And so I just set the Gatorade bottle on the fire, like because it was all full of gas still, and set it there. And like we started to get our stuff all packed up, and I turned around and I'm like, "Oh shit, the fire's going."
Time to leave.
Well, but the funny part is we actually took
Yeah.
advantage of it, and Tanner,
Yeah.
who had been treated, was a little chilled because he had literally been hanging out there for 45 minutes, and trying to keep his arm all bonded up and everything, and to get it going. But just a little, some splashes of gasoline to get the heat going was a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you get those coals going, then you can start adding some more wood and logs and all that kind of stuff in there too. But it's a good practice for everybody. If you've never started a fire in the backcountry at some point in a safe area, try to do it and just see how easy and or hard it is and practice with it, because what you learn someday may be the fire that saves your own life, right? So
Absolutely, John. I mean, that's important. So Craig and I and my wife did that one time up about a place called Mud Lake up in that
yeah,
area. We came across the same problem. We had 5 different fire starter methods,
yeah,
and 4 of them failed miserably. And it's a good to have the experience. And we also realized that you got to build something around the snow and all that. There's all kinds of experience that can be realized out of doing it when you don't need it.
yeah. Nope, awesome, awesome. Just reading a couple things here in the comments. It says build a fire every time we go out for lunch on a day of our trip. Fun to cook hot dogs and show everyone how hard it is to get one going and to show how much wood it takes, right? And so that's
Yeah.
a gentleman named Rick Schursel out of Wisconsin who they just finished a big backcountry trip. He makes first aid kits, altitude sickness first aid kits. So the first aid kit that I used to help, Tanner with I think the ibuprofen, the medicine that was in there, we gave him some of that. That was from the kit that Rick makes actually on my snowmobile. So it's pretty cool to have all these people watching and to share this story with us.
Yeah.
So
No, that's cool.
cool.
Is it okay to say sorry about the Green Bay Packers?
You can, but I don't follow sports. You're gonna have to explain it for everybody. So,
They Buccaneers beat them in the playoffs today.
okay, yeah, Rick
And
and
my son-in-law's from Wisconsin.
yeah, so Rick here from Wisconsin, he may or may not care. Rick, you can drop it in the comments whether you care or not, whether the Green Bay Packers lost or not. Like, when people ask me about like football, I say like, "What's a football?" Like, I don't even know. Like, what's a football? I don't even know. Like, you know what I love about Super Bowl Sunday, Jim?
Yeah,
It's one of the quietest days on the mountain.
it
Nobody else is.
is.
I'm not competing for lines with anybody else. So,
Yeah, you're right.
yep.
You're right.
And so Kyle Franklin here, actually out of California, said carry tampons, which is actually, believe it or not, we did that. So somebody in our group did have a tampon with specifically forced fire starting, dip them in the fuel tank, and then and they weigh almost nothing. So we actually tried that trick, Kyle, but because the tampon with fuel on it burned so fast, it didn't have heat long enough to get to ignite the wood. And so yes, it worked to kind of get fire, but it wasn't effective for what we were trying to accomplish. So, as
Mm,
much as that trick is awesome, it didn't work for us that time. We actually tried that exact trick and it did not work. So
wow.
again, just I don't know. But you know what
Yeah.
actually was a natural item, like especially in the Pacific Northwest, and it's generally readily available. This is actually brilliant, and if it's a local thing in the Pacific Northwest, is the moss off the trees, like the little
Yeah.
dangly little green moss that's
Hmm.
like dangling off all these trees, especially in that area where you guys are at. But in many areas we ride in the Pacific Northwest, there's moss in the trees, not the kind that you're peeling off the bark of the tree, but the stuff that's just hanging in the branches and stuff. That stuff burns really good. It makes like good tinder and stuff like that to kind of get a small
Yeah.
fire going. So, all right.
And if you put underneath the fire, if you take some wet bark
Okay.
and lay it on top of the snow, and then put the fire on top of the bark.
See, didn't know that trick. Just learned something
Yeah,
new.
just yeah, yeah. Thanks.
Awesome, awesome. All right, and so let's go back to the event. So the charity event, we had the painting. We also had a
Yep.
pretty cool gift card from a place that anybody outside of the Pacific Northwest may not even realize. But you had a $500 gift card that a local business donated.
Yeah.
So
The
tell about
cannery.
that. Yeah, I actually, on my way home that day, stopped at the cannery. We ended up buying a rug for our house. So
Nice.
their marketing worked because we had barely even heard of the place before, but after they donated,
Yeah.
we're like, that sounds like a cool place. Let's go check it out. So tell us a little bit about the cannery and their donation, what that meant to
You know,
the club.
they're a great contributor to our group as well as the Snow Jammers, and
Yeah.
they did it again. They did the same thing last year, and my wife and I actually bought the gift certificate last year, and a table that was in the cabin that came from the cannery, and so
Okay.
they have some fun furniture. I'm not a big shopper, but it's fun to go in there, and they've got but they're what I think is important about them is that's the community coming out and saying, hey,
Yeah.
we believe in what you're doing. We want to help you to make it a
Yeah.
success.
Well,
And they've done it every year.
yeah, and
So
one of the families that's involved in the management of the cannery there, and so the cannery is like an old, like, what was the cannery? Like, what, I mean, it was a cannery obviously, but what were they canning back in the day when it was originally there in Sumner?
yeah,
I don't even
yeah, I
know.
don't
Huh?
know. I don't
Anyway, it's like an old warehouse type building is what it is that's been
Yeah.
converted to a furniture center, and it's a really
Hmm.
cool. They got a lot of really neat like decor in there and motif, and not only just the stuff they sell, but also just the way they've decorated the whole place. And you can kind of tell,
Yep.
like you can always tell when you walk into a place too that you know just the vibe you get from the employees and whether it's a good work environment or not. And that place
Hmm.
just like everybody you interacted with and there all the employees, they all had smiles on their faces. They were all excited to help you.
Hmm.
You could tell they were answering questions and they were passionate about what they were talking about. And you just don't get that in this day and age, too. And so to have that big of
No.
a place that does that well, and to have that place show up, as you feel free to mention the names. I'm trying. Dennis was there.
Dennis was one of them, and I should have written those down,
Yeah, his
but
son
they're
Jeremy was there, and his wife. That whole family was there
James. Yeah.
as part of it too. But so thank you to those guys. And there was a lot of donations there too. I don't know. I know we can't cover everybody, but is there any other ones that really stand out? The wood, the
No, the
painting
wood.
thing.
Yeah. No, they just. I mean, the baskets were really something. Some of the baskets. My wife put in $100 into the basket she sold. I
Nice.
don't know. It probably went for $150.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
it's all packaged together. It's all one piece, and we just all have fun doing it. There was some tools, and there was a tool bag.
Yeah.
I put together a tool
There
bag. It,
was
it
there
had
was
over $150 worth
there
of
was
stuff.
some John Ferrian Live Large beanie caps
Yeah, there was
there.
some hats. Yeah,
So
that was big.
I think
Wow, that was big.
didn't they go for like $5,000 each? I'm pretty sure, right? It was beanies just like this one that you can find on John Ferrian Live
Yeah,
for only $20 plus shipping. But if you were at the
they
charity
were
event,
$5.
I think they were like $5,000 they went for. I heard that's the rumor I'm starting is they went for the most money of everything. Pretty sure. Maybe
They
maybe
were a
maybe not.
popular item.
Maybe not.
Yeah, no, they were a popular item, John. It was fun to have you there. It was fun to have you come up on the stage, the quasi stage that we made, and announce how you got the Polaris there, and have
Yeah.
your hats there and the shirts. You had shirts there too, didn't you?
I was wearing some, but we didn't have any for sale or that we were giving away
Oh,
that
okay.
day or anything. But yeah, no, it was a good time. And then let's
Well,
talk
next year
about
we'll
this.
organize that.
Yeah, let's talk about this sled blow up and how that all went out. You guys sold chances for people to guess on when each sled is going to blow up, and then you competed Polaris
Yeah.
versus Skidoo. Just talk us through that and how that went.
Yeah, so my wife and I sat down for a while, and we were chatting. How are we going to do this? It's a fundraiser. We've got this to attract people, but how can we raise money for the cause that we've gotten? So we
Yeah,
came part with talking to Jim Bauer and a few others, and even Clem. We came up with 5-second slots that we'd sell, but we thought if we put it on a board and had everybody sign in their names, that 5 seconds, all the premium spots would get taken. So we came up with the idea that you just draw out a hat. You can buy as many tickets as you want for $5.
yeah,
We sold out $850 in tickets.
yeah. Two sleds, 5 second increments over eight
Yeah.
minutes each, right?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Exactly.
And you
We
sold
gave the
out.
first minute up. Yeah, and we sold out. Next year we're going to go to 10. You know the concept of money and all that. So if you sell out at 5, you go to 10. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, it was so we sold out on the tickets. We took the oil lines off of the sleds.
Yep.
We took the belt off of the sleds. So it's just a bare engine just running on its own. And the way we did it is we got them started a little longer. I'm going to make a short story out of that one because they had a little problem, but we got them started. And then once we started them, I had a piece of duct tape there, and we just taped the throttle and ran.
Well, and what I like too is that, you guys were calling to the group of people who were watching. Again, everybody was kind of there and spread out. We were all standing outside, and like you made sure that nobody was on like the clutch side of the sled or anywhere in front of the sled, that if something did happen, that everybody was being safe. And so I just appreciate the fact that, throughout the whole event, the consciousness of things like around COVID and the safety of the members that are there, and also then still making it a great event that can support a great charity. Kudos to you guys and the whole club for what you were able to pull off. It was amazing. So
yeah, it's the people in the club. It's the energy they put into it. It's just phenomenal to work with them.
Yep.
Good people.
And who won, Skidoo or Polaris?
Well, Skidoo lasted longer, and it was 3 minutes and 43 seconds. And we rounded up. High sides beats low sides. So we rounded up to 3 minutes and 45 seconds. And John, I gotta say, you get to the point where who won? So we did a 50-50 split. So 50% of the pot is going to
who had ticket number 350, Jim?
Yeah, I do. It was my granddaughter.
If you could have made that thing last 5 more seconds, I would have won.
It would have been you.
I would have won. I just telling you, like, if you're gonna if you can rig this thing next time, just let me know. Like, because
we'll put a little oil in the tank.
Yeah, maybe that extra 5 seconds, I could have won.
It would have been fun. It was fun.
Edith and I were looking at our ticket, going like, "You got to be kidding me! 345 won. We got 350. Like, no! Oh well, it was all for a good cause, right?"
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
it was
and
a lot of fun.
Chris Sutton says 340. So if it would have died earlier, Chris would have won. If it was 5 seconds longer, I would have won. Oh well.
And John, I don't know if I've told you this, but the next morning, the Polaris went. It went about 45 seconds, somewhere around there. It wasn't important. It went under 1 minute.
Yeah.
Well, we worked on it the next morning. We got it running.
Nice.
And it went home with a family that has kids.
That's awesome.
So just wanted to pass that on.
Yep. We saw that on Facebook as well too. And so even the sleds in their catastrophic situation were repurposed and used for parts and or for some kids to go ride on now for going forward. So.
Yeah. Well, and John, that sled was my wife's sled. She bought that brand new from Clem.
The Skidoo you're talking about, right?
The Skidoo. Yeah.
Yep. You guys had a fancy name for that sled, didn't you?
Yeah. Pure Evil. We
Pure
Evil. Pure Evil.
Is it because of how she wrote it, or because it didn't stay together very long?
I can't say, John.
Okay.
I can't
all right. We'll just leave that for another episode. So. All right.
She's down there laughing.
All right. Well, Jim, I'm looking through my notes, and I'm thinking you pretty much and I pretty much have covered most everything we were going to cover tonight. What do you think? Is there anything else we missed?
No, just I think I've shown the appreciation. I think the appreciation of having you guys out there.
You know what you missed?
Out there.
You know what you missed?
Huh?
You know what you missed?
What did I miss?
How much money did this year's event raise? Like, how much money did 22 people in a snowmobile club, bringing in more people from outside the snowmobile club, how much money did you guys raise?
Well, John, we're at $7,300 and counting.
Woo! That's awesome.
And in the last 4 years, we've been running about 4,000 to 4,500. That helps one family. When we get up to 7,500 and beyond, the most we've ever raised was 9,000. But we're getting there, and it'd be fun to get to that 9,000 mark. Yep. And it keeps climbing. I get colleagues at work or whatnot. Hey Jim, I'll throw a couple $100 in for it.
Yeah.
Our broker, he threw in a couple $100 for it. So anyway, it's counting, it's climbing, and we were excited about
Jim,
the $7,000 number.
Don't waste your time with $9,000. I've already called it, like Big Roof called his home run. Like, we're gonna hit 10,000 next year. 10,000. 10 grand, 10
Okay.
G we are going to raise next year
We're
somehow.
gonna
I'm
do it.
so what we're gonna do is we're gonna let everybody in the world know what's going on with that with the club and the event this year, and we have an opportunity to donate some money if anybody wants to send a check in or call
Yeah.
you. I bet they could maybe do you do other things like digital transfer, like Venmo or PayPal or anything like that?
We don't this year, but we're gonna look into that for
All right,
next year.
all
We're
right.
also, I think, I think I mentioned this the other day to you when we were chatting, and if you don't know where you're going, you'll never get there.
It's all about
So
the
we got
journey,
the
right?
10,000 mark. We're
All
gonna
right,
get there.
all
That's the
right,
journey.
all right.
So we're gonna do it.
Very cool, very cool. All right, buddy. Well, I appreciate
Thank you.
everything about this episode. I appreciate you as a friend, your family, the
Thank you.
club, the grooming that goes on down there, everything that's going on, the fundraiser you guys did, all the club members that are down there. It was such a great experience. Edith and I had such an amazing time down there, and a big part of that was from everybody, but especially for you and your wife who hosted us down there and made it extra special for us. So, really appreciate you guys and everything you're doing for the snowmobile community at large, and
Thank
want to
you.
say thank you very much for coming on tonight.
Okay. And thank you for having me, John. I
Yep,
appreciate it.
you're very, very welcome. So you hang tight. I'll talk to you after the show here, just on our Skype call
Okay.
that we have going on. And
Okay.
I'm just going to let everybody else know, like, hey, if you haven't already, please share this out. This is a great episode showcasing what a small club in rural Washington can do to make a big impact on its local community. So God bless everybody, and you guys know it. Live large. Have a great night.